to playing Islanders hockey and skate away with a big 4-1 win over the Bruins. We'll tell you why this win was particularly a good one for the Islanders, and we'll have a full preview of Sunday's game against the Montreal Canadiens. All that and more coming up on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the weekend edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast. So glad you could join us today. Thank you for being part of the Locked On Islanders family, and thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Islanders 4, Bruins 1, a big win, a much-needed win. We'll explain why this win was particularly important for the New York Islanders. It's not just the team they beat, it's the way they did it, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. We also will preview Sunday's game at home against the Montreal Canadiens, and we've got our Islanders birthday of the day and a lot more coming up on today's show. If you've got something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, a topic that you'd like us to talk about on the show, feel free to send us an email. The email address, lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we are happy to mention you on the air when we talk about whatever it is that's on your mind. You could also follow the show on Twitter at LockedOnIsles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on Twitter at Ice Wars, NYRVSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road games. So I'll give you some instant insight and analysis, and always great to talk to fans and discuss whatever it is that's on your mind during the games. So, Islanders 4, Bruins 1, and this game in particular was a gratifying win for the Islanders. And part of the reason why is this. First period, not good. Islanders outshot, I believe it was 13-6, looked flat, gave up one more of those, bad goals late in the period. Ilya Sorokin didn't take the right angle, and it was Taylor Hall kind of banked off Sorokin and just in a little crevice between him and the post, cover it right, and down 1-0, and you're starting to think to yourself, okay, this is enough performance. But you know what? First period, all of a sudden, Islanders hockey. And, it wasn't. There were so many aspects of this game. Look, let's start with something simple like hits. Had Kieffer Bellows, who was in the lineup because Josh Bailey out with an upper body injury, 5 hits. Cal Clutterbuck, 8 hits in just 12 minutes. 42 seconds of ice time. Ryan Pulock adds 4 on the blue line. 4 block shots for Alec. But the thing is this. We saw team defense, something this team has not been able to do consistently for a large part of this season. And a great JG Pageau, and you saw just an all-out effort in all 3 zones, and the Islanders win the puck over very much. And after that first period, they really sort of clamped down and started to play their game. And players who have been struggling offensively, for a large portion of the season, they started to wake up as well. How about you, JG Pageau? Great goal where he literally went to the net, poked the puck home. The Barzal goal really set up because Kieffer Bellows, who got an assist on the goal, went to the great play. Barzal skating, also a part of it. On the Noah Dobson goal, it wasn't a very hard shot from just inside the blue line. Two Islanders in front of the goal, screaming minus all. They were ready for rounds. Opportunities or road real. These are the not doing consistently, and all the when you capable of doing that gives you hope that this team hasn't forgotten what it is they do well. And again, Kyle Palmieri, no, he didn't figure in the scoring, but another strong overall performance for Palmieri on the top line with Barzal and Lee. Pageau, again, with a strong game. Bellows with a strong game. Clutterbuck, except for one foolish penalty he took in the third period, had a very solid game. And the identity line had their moments where their forecheck was rolling and getting things done again. The other thing that I liked was after giving up the one bad goal late in the first period, Ilya Sorokin shut it down after that. And part of the reason is because that the Islanders didn't give up a lot of high-quality scoring chances, especially in the last 40 minutes of the game. They were not allowing the Bruins to gain neutral zone with speed and to be aggressive in the Islanders zone. Kept them on the perimeter. Really did a nice job of shutting things down. And, Islanders hockey. So many of the Bruins shots were from just inside the blue line, behind the face-off circles, not in that high danger area. I look at it, maybe 8 shots all game, make it 9 from inside that high danger area. All of them from further back. And then when you look at the Islanders, more shots from the high danger area, including 2 of the 3 goals. And again, go to the net, attacking those dirty areas, making the plays they needed to make in order to get the 2 points. And they needed this 2 points. Look, the Islanders came into this game with 4 games in hand on the Bruins and 18 points behind them. 18 points behind them. You lose this game in regulation, you're 20 points back. You're not making that up. Now you're 16 points back. Still a hell of a challenge. They're not going to make it up easily. But it gives you that flick of hope, and it shows this team remembers the things they need to do to win hockey games. They are a lot of little things, but it's the hustle of guys like Bellows and Parise and Clutterbuck and Wallstrom, just really getting things done. The penalty kill came up big. We talked when we previewed this game about how good the Bruins are on special teams. Their power play, had that big power play chance when it was a 2-1 game, and the Islanders killed it solidly. So overall, a strong performance. Not the most exciting game, but a steady, strong, balanced performance. Technically smart, positional hockey. Folks, this is what the New York Islanders do when they're winning, and it was great to see it happen again in a must-win game. Now, they've got to build on it, and we'll talk more about that later on in the show. When we come back, we will preview Sunday's game against the Montreal Canadiens. That will be a big one for the New York Islanders now. Their last game before they head out on another West Coast trip. Islanders' birthday of the day, and a lot more episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. This is brought to you by the time of the year that I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions, but not this year. I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right at Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not really a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. Have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. And Puffs are a fan favorite. Listen to these incredible flavors: yummy, cinnamony, churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. So good, they are going to be your new favorite. And look, Milk Bars contain just 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 7 grams of protein. Most candy bars have about 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. At Built Bar, they're all about the taste. They make it delicious first, then they figure out how to make it healthy. I don't know how, but they pull it off every time. Go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCK15, and you'll get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com. Again, for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day, be sure to check out the podcast covering all the action in Beijing. You can find it on the Locked On NHL podcast feed. It's free and available on all platforms. So the Islanders will face the Canadiens in their next game, and I'll tell you, this is going to be. You beat Boston, that gives you some momentum. Build on it. You have a road trip coming up on the West Coast, and you're playing a home game on Sunday against a team that has really been struggling all season. So here's your chance to start get a little 2-game win streak together before you head out to the West. The Islanders win this game. Montreal ended a long losing streak last night, winning in overtime at home against the St. Louis Blues by a score of 3-2. Martin St. Louis get his first win behind the bench as coach of the Habs. And again, Montreal, struggling really, hasn't played yet this season. He had, personal issues and injury issues. He may be able to come back later, not sure. But just across the board, this team is 31st in the league in goals scored, dead last in goals against, 31st on the power play, 30th on the penalty kill. That is just consistently bad. And, on the season, still less than 10 wins. So not really getting the job done. Not watch this team game out. Nicky probably been their most consistent player. Tied for the team lead with 9 goals, leads the team with 28 points heading into last night's game. Tyler Toffoli now traded, so he's no longer with the team. Jonathan Drouin, Arturi Lehkonen, Josh Anderson. These are some of the names near the top of the point totals for Montreal, but not a lot of the Islander fans are over familiar. We'll go down the and where they are. So that's the top line. The sign right, Byron on each side of him. and Ryan Pulling is the fourth line center. Arturi Lehkonen to his left, Joel Armia to his right. On defense, Brett Kulak and Jeff Petrie at the top. Pair. Alexander Romanov and Corey Schuenman are the second pair, and Kale Clegg and Biden are the third pair. The goalies right now, on the Jonathan Bruin was out of last night's game. Christian Dvorak did his day-to-day. There's just so many injuries on the problems for the Montreal Canadiens. You know, they're just not consistent. They clearly miss Carey Price. The goaltending situation is difficult because, you know, Price is unavailable. Jake Allen, who was to take over when Price went out, he's now available. This is a situation, but you know what? The Islanders need to step up and take advantage of this. I'll say it straight out. If you can't defeat the Montreal Canadiens at home in a game where you're about to head west and you're trying to build something to try to hang on to fading playoff hope, you can't win this game. You don't deserve to even think about the playoffs. You don't deserve it. This is a must-win kind of a game for the New Islanders. And look, for the Isles is going to get a little more to West Coast. And, you know, look, the West Coast is going to be full of challenges. Team. It's always have to travel. It's not, you know, they can start putting things together. And when they go to Seattle and San Jose years ago, let's see if you can guess who is. All that and more still to come on the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at Bet Online. Football might be over for this season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. Believe it or not, March Madness is right around the corner. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired coach is going to land, betonline.net is the number one spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds, right to the Olympic coverage and information. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Time now for our Islanders' birthday. The day, and Saturday is the 54th birthday. A former Islander, Rob DeMaio. DeMaio drafted by the Islanders in 1987 in the 6th round, 108th overall. His NHL debut with the Isles during the 88-89 season, 16 games, and got his career NHL, stayed with the Islanders organization through the 91-92 season, where he played in 50 games for the team that year, then went off to the Tampa Bay Lightning for their first 2 seasons, Philadelphia Flyers, Boston Bruins, and then briefly with the New York Rangers, Carolina Hurricanes, Dallas Stars. There's a guy who career with the Lightning in 05-06. Here's a guy drafted in the 6th round, no scorer, but a good check, penalties, played responsible defense, and turned it into a long career. 894 career NHL games for Rob DeMaio, only 106 goals, 277 points, 140 penalty minutes. Wasn't a big penalty minute guy. Played in 62 playoff games, 7 goals, 16 points there. And DeMaio, smart, and teammates really liked that. We're going to look at one of their games with the Isles. We take you back to November 30th, 1991. Nassau Coliseum. The Waddles are the visitors against the New York Islanders. And in this game, Mike Liut gets the start for the Islanders in this one. And I'll tell you, the tough physical game, but the Islanders getting on the board early. Kevin Hatcher in the box for high sticking. Derek King on the power play, his 15th. Pierre Turgeon and Steve Thomas with the assist at 2:13. Islanders quickly up 1-0. Then Turgeon makes it 2-0 late in the period, his 7th. Steve Thomas and Wayne McBean with the assist at 16:58. 2-0 Isles after the first period. In the second period, well, Pierre Turgeon gets a power play goal when Dale Hunter went off for cross-checking. I know Islander fans old enough to remember him. He's not exactly an Islander fan favorite, but he was off for cross-checking. Pierre Turgeon made him pay his 8th from Steve Thomas just 46 seconds into the second. 3-0 Islanders. Add a goal by Ray Ferraro at the 3:10 mark. Joe Ricci and Benoit Hogue with the assists. That made it 4-0 Isles. Pat Flatley makes it 5-0 with a power play goal from Ray Ferraro and Benoit Hogue. Then Turgeon, his 9th from Steve Thomas and David Volek, and Pat Flatley, his 7th from Ray Ferraro and Benoit Hogue. Yeah, 7-0 Islanders after 2 periods. In the third, our Islanders' birthday of the day, Rob DeMaio, he gets a shorthanded goal. That is his 2nd of the year. Flatley with the assist at 6:31. The shutout is broken with a little less than 7 minutes left in the game. Calle Johansson of Washington, his 8th from Dale Hunter and Randy Burridge. But the Islanders cruise to an 8-1 win over the Washington Cap. Glenn Hill, 26 saves. DeMaio had the 1 goal. It was a short. He was a +1, scored on his only shot. The team effort, and the Islanders cruised to the 8-1 win. So again, the 54th day for former Islanders winger Mayo, a guy who, 90, not so big in that, 80s, 90s, 2000s era, but smart, scrappy, good two-way hockey player. Islanders' birthday of the day. Big game Sunday. I read this, and if they get it right now, it is very possible that they can get some momentum before to the West Coast, and we'll have a full recap with our key takeaways from that game on Monday's show, and we'll start to look ahead as to where this team stands as they head west. Thanks again for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets. It's your one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets is hosted by your boy Q with expert insight and analysis by Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms. Have a great holiday weekend, everybody. President's Day on Monday. Stay safe. Enjoy the Islander game Sunday. And, of course, let's go Islanders.